weird map because a lot of players have a specific build in mind for that map. So over time, there hasn't really been a clear favorite in terms of the racial distribution. A lot of Protosses choose this in tournaments because it's easy to defend and go two-base Colossus. A lot of Terran players love this because it's quite honestly very easy to drop. What are your thoughts on who you think is going to have the advantage in this match, JP?
Well, I mean, I think that Terran actually favors his drop play. We didn't really get to see it too much in the game because he's always being defensive. But I don't know. I mean, maybe Naniwa can really figure something out. Maybe play a more macro-oriented game instead of something else that we saw last game. So.
And of course, keep in mind, this isn't just us burbling on the front stage. You can join in the conversation too via Twitter, your various social means. Definitely tweet questions at me at Day9TV and
at me, JP.
That is right. Let us know what sort of things you're thinking.
Sean, you ready to get this match started?
Well, I mean, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are you guys out there in the crowd ready? I think they're ready, Sean. Let's go ahead and do it.
I think they are pumped. Let's see if Naniwa is able to exploit that long-term macro style that he does, or whether Terran's aggression is going to have another 2-0 win.
Now, in those long, drawn-out games in the PvT matchup, who do you think it really favors, Sean?
Naniwa.
Naniwa?
Just flatly, absolutely Naniwa. I think that Naniwa is one of the most brilliant Protoss players around today. And of course, looks like the game number 2 has begun. If you would like him to pull a comeback victory, give a cheer for your green Protoss, the Swede, Naniwa.
And if you would like the red Terran player, Terran, to seal it up here 2-0, give a cheer, guys. I think they like Naniwa still.
Sounds like a lot of people came from Sweden. Actually, are there Swedes here today? Woo! Yeah, glad to have all 3 of you here, yeah. Anyone from Southern California here today?
So biased. That's the winner, yeah.
So it looks like Terran will be going for a wall off at his front, and I mean, I don't know your thoughts, JP, but I'm really feeling like he's just going to be doing another straight-up flat early expand.
Yeah, probably going to do that, especially on a map like this. That's really what a lot of Terran players are favoring, is that fast expand. You really aren't under too much pressure unless your opponent, like Naniwa, just decides to foregate. But we saw last game, Major handled that pretty well.
He ended up absolutely manhandling it. And Naniwa, though, is a huge fan of going for the 14 Nexus on this map. And now that I've brought that up, he's going to throw down a 13 Gateway because he's a jerk.
Yeah, it's a caster's curse, man.
I know that is true. Literally, as soon as he possibly can after you've made the prediction, he will prove it wrong. So Naniwa looks like he is going for a fairly economic play. He's actually getting his gas geyser on 15 supply. That's always the big signifier of how someone's going to be aggressive or maybe long-term focused when they build those gas geysers. Cannot emphasize that enough.
Now, to step outside of the game a little bit, you got to always bring in emotions into a tournament like this. This is one of the biggest stages for StarCraft 2. And Naniwa, as of late, has been a really emotional player in a lot of these tournaments, especially in the regionals. So being down a game, Sean, as an ex-professional player yourself, really, where's his state of mind?
I appreciate you slipping in that ex-professional in there, JP, up top, man, making me look good. But from Naniwa's perspective, I feel like he has a lot of pressure because he's not a player who's thinking this is a chance to really prove myself. Instead, a lot of people are looking at this tournament as, hey, this is a chance for you to get back to where you were before. He came right out the gate at 2011, winning major tournaments, going undefeated in huge fields, and then had a tremendous tumble throughout 2011. So he has a lot of weight on his back. Terran, on the other hand, doesn't have nearly as much. He has been practicing largely only for this tournament and been training a lot in Korea and has not made that big splash, so he doesn't really have anything to prove.
Do you think that he's more likely to take risk in this game, Sean, since he is up 1-0?
I think Terran is the sort of player who just does not like risky plays. He's going to just stick with standard openings and do later game aggression.
All right, so going back over into Naniwa's base, we saw he got that quick second assimilator. Here comes that second gateway.
And it's mighty fast, too.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of looking similar to what we saw last game. Is he going to throw down these 2 more gateways? Does he have a forward? No, he does not have a probe anywhere on the map. So are we going to see an expansion go down, possibly?
I mean, we're seeing Terran again do essentially the identical thing. And one of my favorite sayings is he is doing the perfect skeleton opening in this matchup. The basic skeleton is 3 barracks, an expansion, and a starport with a reactor. There's a lot of different ways to do it, to get a lot of upgrades earlier, maybe get the medevacs a little faster, but this is the most basic way to open a Terran versus Protoss game. Naniwa, on the other hand, is leaving a lot of options open with these 2 sentries. He's going to be throwing down the expand. Ordinarily, you'd hate to have your opponent see this, but keep in mind, Naniwa built it and canceled it in the last game.
And the SCV still alive. Looks like Naniwa will. I thought he was going to wait for it, but he will throw down the Nexus. And there it goes. And meanwhile, back in Terran's base, he's actually added on those 2 more racks. Getting the tech lab on one of them might just favor Marines for the moment, Sean.
Yeah, Terran actually loves getting an early tech lab, getting an early stim. Why, JP? Because he loves attacking, wants to get right in his opponent's face ASAP. And meanwhile, it looks like Terran is doing these little pokes and prods with his Marines. It's so easy to go into passive mode and just sit comfortably in that nice warm bunker and sip cocoa. But Terran has no cocoa for his Marines, JP. He wants them to attack as much as possible.
We see a forge going down here for Naniwa. Does that really signify, as well as a robotics facility? I mean, is he going to be getting armor here, or is he going to be getting ground weapons? What do you think?
It is time to make a bold prediction, JP McDaniel. I have seen Naniwa do a similar style to this, where he begins getting upgrades right away and goes straight into Colossi production. And then he gets these sentries to help force field for defense while he gets everything up. Again, one of the reasons why Protosses love this map, easily force fieldable front.
We don't see any upgrades just yet for Terran. We actually, was that a, oh no, the Stalker's still here. Hasn't been taken out at all, though. He does have concussive shells on that Marauder as well. It's so smart to see
so
things
great.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's poking out, and look at this. He's even leaving most of his units back home. Right now, Naniwa, freaking me out. If that Marauder lands 1 hit on that Stalker, the Stalker is good as dead because of that slow. So that is the reason for my heart palpitations. Losing a Stalker at this phase in the game is just brutal to deal with. And it looks like Terran is doing the aggressive version of this opening, opting for all the upgrades right off the bat, doing these little pokes and prods, and eventually he'll get medevacs.
Now we have a second Immortal started here for Naniwa. The first one already out, of course. The Immortal, one of the units that received a huge buff in the latest patch, increasing its range. How do you think it really factors into this matchup now with that increase to the range, Sean?
Well, ordinarily you use the Immortals for defense, and maybe you incorporate a lot of them late game, but weirdly Naniwa is getting a decent number of them in the mid game. He's either really worried about a large attack, or he's preparing for some sort of big aggression. The reason you don't really want those Immortals early is because, well, looks like one Zealot didn't get the stay-at-home memo. He just went out and wanted to explore, and he was punished for his curiosity.
A scan coming down from Terran into Naniwa's main base. He does not see any tech, just that robotic facility. We see another Marine here. I'm not sure if he saw the Immortals there in the backfield, but it looks like is Terran going to go for some pressure here?
Oh, Terran's got to be careful.
Got to be careful, though. They're in the force field. This is not going to end up good.
Oh, my gosh. Terran received what we call the Protoss hug. He just snuggled up with those force fields and shot him with a gun. I mean, I can understand pinning someone against the wall and punching him, but pinning him against a force field and shooting him, that is just brutal, Naniwa. And these Immortals, again, you don't really want a lot of them early. They're not good at dealing with drop play. They're so slow. They're only good in direct engagements. So if you are getting those Immortals early, you had better be planning to attack. And that looks like exactly what Naniwa is doing.
Now, right when he lost those units, Terran threw up 3 bunkers immediately. He's got the units inside of him. Is he going to pull SCVs to repair, or is Naniwa just not going to engage? He might use the Immortals to tank before moving in. Does not have a forward pylon just yet, but there is a probe over here at the Xel'Naga Tower in the center.
Yeah, and look at this. Naniwa getting up to 6 gateways. There's his robotics bay. He's going to stick on 2 bases, and again, Naniwa just wants to hug. That's picking off as many units as he can.
That's one of the times where it's not the best time to poke.
That is absolutely true. And you know, that is the classic downfall of very aggressive players. If you can play aggressively, you feel like an absolute genius. You're freaking your opponent out, hitting him at every point when he seems weak. But if you make so much as 1 or 2 big missteps, you can lose way more than you're expecting. Look at that units lost tab. Wow. Terran has lost 3 times as much as Naniwa.
And the supply is still very, very close. We had a Marine checking the would-be 3rd and 4th base here for Naniwa, but he did not already see that the 3rd base is down. And that is the luckiest Zealot ever.
That Zealot had the 3rd sense. 6th sense. What?
Listen. 3rd sense? He could smell? They actually don't have noses now, if you think about it.
That is true. That must be a great blessing for those poor Zealots when they get their cereal box and there's a scratch and sniff sticker, but they just have that flat part where the nose should be. If only they got just a regular toy.
Poor guys.
There's a game going on right now, and it looks like a double forge is down for Naniwa, making sure to get those long-term upgrades. He has his Colossus out. This is the perfect expansion to take when you are going Colossus play because you can easily walk up and down the high ground and even shoot from up on high. And Terran's really going to have to be the one to put pressure back on his opponent.
And we see here Colossus are out. When is he going to be moving out? We'll have to kind of wait and see it. Here's a drop actually occurring, but there's really nothing for him to kill except for the Stalker up in the north. Looks like he wants to try to snipe a third base, but he has not seen the fact that it's already up next to the main. As he goes down, he won't find anything. Maybe just going to go for a natural.
Everything that Naniwa's doing is long-term. Getting the upgrades for a big army later. Getting Blink. This will help him defend against drops, so he can have a good economy for later. Beginning to get that Colossus count very, very high. No aggression is really planned for Naniwa. And Terran is trying to do his best. Whoa, that must feel very weird. Have the Zealot get warped in next to you.
Yeah, I feel like that Naniwa's just playing one step ahead this entire game. I mean, after that big engagement at his ramp with the force fields, he's just really been so far ahead of his opponent.
And, I mean, Terran is in a very awkward situation. He was favoring these upgrades very early on, but notice he doesn't have enough gas to get the upgrades and get the Ghosts and get the Vikings up at the same time. He is pinched for money, and as a result, he's just going to have a very weak army. Doesn't mean he can't win, but it does mean he can't really put any pressure on Naniwa.
See the third Colossus coming out real quick. Going into unit tab, 69 probes to the 58 SCVs here for these two players. And where is Terran going to be going? You know, he does have a couple of Vikings out, producing only 2 at a time, so he didn't go for that double starport play just yet.
Yeah.
But is he going to go for a big attack here, Sean?
Well, some of the most important points on the map are these little pods right here. The Colossi can wander up on top of them and become easy targets for the Vikings, and likewise, Vikings can hide on the other side and blast down the Colossi. You might think, well, hey, why not just blink on top and then defend my Colossus? Well, then you cannot run from the Marine Marauder armies. You are tightly packed for those EMPs. It becomes a very risky situation. That's not where you want to go.
Well, it might actually live because he does. Oh, he does have Blink. Is he going to get it?
No, he loses it. And it looks,
Naniwa's just all over the
round
place,
3
man.
coming up. He's moving. If first you don't succeed, try. No, don't try again. Let's just go hide up on the high ground. Uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
Round 3.
Naniwa just playing so well, dealing with these drops like I've never seen before, Sean. He is just all over the map. He's making sure that Terran cannot do anything to his economy.
I feel like I'm watching a Bruce Lee movie, and I'm thinking, how does he have that many forearms to block punches? They're flying up left and right, but of course he researched the Stalker forearm upgrade to help him stop all of those drops. The Vikings are continuing to pop out, and look at this 3-3 upgrades. Naniwa is just going to play calm, easy, slow, get up as many units as he can. And with these 8 gateways to reinforce, he is going to be throwing a massive punch at Terran right now.
I love the fact that Naniwa stopped at 3 Colossus. If you look at Terran's Vikings, he just has so many. That's so many resources that could have been spent in another part of his army. But it looks like we are going to see the engagement here, Sean.
And there it is. EMPs going off, hitting the same place twice. Large blunder from Terran. The Vikings are ripping this army apart. The Colossi doing a great amount of damage, but the Archons cannot really get into the fray. Terran looks like he's coming out a little bit on top, but once the Archons get into the action, it is going to look very downhill for Terran. The Blink Stalker's trying to control, and those 3 Immortals doing massive damage. The army is cleaned up. The Mules don't even have an attack. They are scared to death.
Yeah, those Immortals really are the game winners right there for Naniwa, doing so much damage. And is he going to push into the natural? Looks like he will deny the third base.
And there's Terran lifting up. He's going to try to get away. But I have a feeling that Naniwa might show off those forearms again with a nice little blink up onto the high ground. No, he has them in their holsters for now. But Terran is running low on options, JP.
Yeah, we see Terran moving out with the small army behind the army of Naniwa. Looks like he kind of wants to engage here, Sean. I'm not sure if that would be the best idea. It looks like he's a little bit hesitant himself.
it's a very weird feeling when you are used to being the aggressor and you have to sit and play defensively. Ordinarily, when you're playing defensively, you get that, oh, I got to do damage. That is even more so for those aggro players.
Look how many units Naniwa is able to warp in there. Let's do a real quick count of his gateways, Sean. Looks like he's up to a total of, I believe, 10.
Gosh.
So he is just in full-on macro mode, getting his 4th base. It's already complete. 60 supply ahead. He's about to see another engagement here. Can he cut these forces off? No, he doesn't even really have sentries, so...
Well, I mean, Naniwa doesn't even need sentries so much. I mean, there's this funny moment that happens in this matchup where if you get enough Archons, it doesn't matter how many ghosts he has, he can't EMP enough. We see the 2 ghosts from Terran in the unit station. Look at this, 16 Marauders, 19 Marines, 3 ghosts, versus 30 Zealots, 6 Archons, 2 Colossi, and those 3 Immortals are the real heroes. 8 kills on one, 12 on the other.
And these 3/3 upgrades, that's really going to allow those Archons to get in and deal so much damage. It looks like Naniwa wants to force the fight.
Oh, the Archons are in the front, and there's the EMPs. Do manage to land on the Archons, but there are a whole slew of Zealots overrunning. 300 did not defeat Persia in this movie.
GG, we're going to game 3, Sean.
Naniwa takes the win. A great display of skill there by Naniwa. That was some almost perfect defensive play.
Yeah, I don't think a drop ever actually did a single thing for Terran there. He defended every single one.
You know, it's almost that opposite logic where Naniwa sees the drop coming and he's like, drops. Just blunk right under it. Blinked?
Both
Blunk,
yeah.
Very good. He blunk underneath it. And that's one thing that is actually quite hard to do in that matchup, to have that resilient Protoss style, to get the Colossi at the right time. I mean, from the moment you start the robotics bay to the moment the Colossi is really done and able to engage in battle is about 3 minutes of time. And I'm not even talking getting a lot of Colossi. I'm talking getting one. The act of getting the Colossus is a huge vulnerable moment. And not only did Naniwa get the Colossus up fast, but he also got the upgrade up very quickly as well. Very hard move to do, and did it beautifully.
Yeah, so Sean, we're going to be going into game 3 right away, and we're headed to the Abyssal Caverns.
Ooh.
A map that's really not been used in a lot of tournament play, but I'm very excited to see it here at Blizzcon.
As am I, and I know you're excited too, because it's match point. Who's pumped? Now, this is the moment where the crowd needs to be as quiet as possible. Shh. And now that we have established silence, I want you to make as much noise as you can for the man who played a brilliant game last game. It is Sweden's Naniwa.
Over here on the left-hand side of the map, get quiet again. And cheer a little bit louder this time. Give him some love, guys. We've got, from Mexico, Terran.
And the map is going to be Abyssal Caverns. This is one of the biggest ladder maps, I guess I would call it. I mean, a lot of them have the same dimensions, but it is the walk distances, the architecture of the map that makes it feel so huge. And we have cross-map positions on here, but what makes the map very interesting is the fact that you can be close by ground, which would be left versus right, or you can be what we would describe as cross-map positions. And that's when you would need to play very long-term focused. So though we do have those cross-map positions, these players don't know that yet. So you're going to see them prepare for early defense and then pull way into the long-term gameplay.
Now, with a lot of these maps, Sean, there's always little small things that the map has that others don't. What are some of those things that this map does that others don't?
Well, one of the most interesting aspects is this Xel'Naga watchtower that doesn't have an easy way to secure both sides. It actually secures this large central area. And with no really well-defined center, counterattacks become very, very potent. In particular, blink drop plays, very strong with the main, being pointed this way. The Terran wants to expand here and then up to this north position, leaving the back side of his main very vulnerable. And the same goes for Protoss as well. So I expect War Prisms, dropships, blink to be very strong in this game.
You know, out of all the Protosses now thinking about it, in that latest patch, everyone else is really using War Prisms. I have not seen Naniwa build one to this day, I believe.
Yeah, Naniwa does not really like doing that harass-heavy play traditionally. But we did see him get that blink in game number 1. So I think that he's hinting towards it. He's letting us know. He's giving us some clues. But I would be delighted to see that sort of aggression out of Naniwa.
Looks like we're going to see a little bit different of an opening with those 2 gates. Doesn't have that second gas this game just yet. Meanwhile, Terran actually getting gas this game, not going for that 15 racks expand. And there's the factory started.
Whoa. So he's doing the good old 1 Marine defense at the front, and he will be getting
He's going to open up with Hellions.
Ooh. Now see, this is a clever play. If he does go Hellion, it is a great way to manage the big distances on this map. You absolutely must have an excellent control over the distances between your 2 bases. Whoopsie daisies. Nothing
That's
to
a little
see
embarrassing.
here. Yeah, wow. It's like the 4-minute mark, hides a pylon in the weirdest spot, and the SCV checks there first, like 30 seconds later.
That just sucks. That's all that is.
Yeah, that's just very bad luck. Naniwa did let it finish because, again, there's not that much that Terran can do about it.
Now we see the bunker going up. We do have that reactor finished. There's the old swap-roo. So we are going to be seeing those Hellions come out. And, you know, Naniwa didn't actually wall off at all. So those Hellions could get in and do a lot of damage. But what is he up to with this pylon? We see Warpaint is very close to being finished.
Man.
And
Terran is paranoid. He's getting ready for a warp-in up on the high ground. Whoa. I mean, he can salvage that. Terran having some massive indecision. Yeah, but let's put that back. That looked good there before. And do you think these curtains go well with this wallpaper? No, let's take them down. Let's put in the blinds.
Is that nerves getting to him, Sean?
I mean, it's... I would have to say that. I mean, honestly, this is just a little bit of unsuredness. And that is the worst thing to have ever in any tournament. If you have practiced the worst build ever, do that build in a tournament. Do not try to decide on the fly. Indecision is the biggest killer of strong players in major tournaments.
We see that there is an expansion going down for Naniwa. But what is Terran going to be doing? He does have these 2 Hellions out. He's also got his second command center finished. It will soon become that orbital command. And Terran might move out with these Hellions. I mean, lower the supply depot. Still, he seems a little bit lost.
He's basically playing Legos right now.
Yeah.
Just rearranging that base, popping a factory off, putting it back. But these Hellions should have been out on the map for a long time. Hellions are one of the best examples of a concept called map control. You might not be able to attack your opponent and do any damage. These Hellions might not even be good in defense for a direct attack. But what it does is it forces the Protoss player to be in defense mode, because the instant this army leaves, these Hellions can swing in and kill all of your probes. So as we would say, they give you control of the map.
We see, of course, when that robotics facility is finished, the observer being chrono boosted immediately. This pylon still stands here for Naniwa. I think 2 of these stalkers were just warped in, and if he controls this correctly, he might be able to do a lot of damage here.
But no, the Hellions come back. And again, in these small fights, the Hellions are so fast that they can easily track you down and punish you for making that kind of mistake. But Naniwa has an answer.
See 2 more stalkers being warped in. Now he's going to start focusing down that Marauder first and then working on the Marines. He gets the Marauder. There's another one here.
Let's see if he can pick these Marines off. Naniwa being extremely aggressive. Starting to pick off those Marines. Would love to get that last back one before a medevac pops up. And in the units lost tab, we're seeing a little bit more lost from Terran, who again having a lot of indecision, JP.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him switch so many times, but here comes Naniwa once again with these stalkers. I love the fact that he did so little with only 3 stalkers, and now he's moving in with a huge amount. He's taking out that Marauder. That's going to be the big damage dealer here. Now he's just got to control correctly against these SCVs, and he will be able to chew through those Marines. A lot of SCVs being pulled.
And he only gets 2 Marines into the bunker. And look at this, Naniwa doing all this damage off just 2 gateways. This is what makes him, I think, the most brilliant long-term Protoss player at this tournament. He is phenomenal at doing these kinds of attacks while being scrappy.
See him moving in. He's trying to get down that bunker, but a ton of SCVs already repairing, but they're not mining, so this is really a great thing for Naniwa to do, even if he's going to lose a couple of these forces. We see him focusing down the Hellions.
Wow.
And wow, Naniwa's doing so much damage, Sean.
Just waltzing right in. Oh, is this a main base you have? How lovely, but there's a few more units that Terran has in store. Uh-oh. This could be a little bit of a misstep by Naniwa, and it looks like Terran is going to be able to clean up the stalker count.
Well, let's do a real quick unit count. He's down to 16 SCVs, Sean, compared to the 45 probes of Naniwa. That is not the best position you want to be in. Some Colossus, are they coming out? Yes, we have the first Colossus on his way, and he's also adding on 4 more gateways, a huge surge of units about to come out for Naniwa.
One of the best things Naniwa can do right now is just chrono boost probes. He has no need to get units out fast because Terran has hardly anything at all. And with Terran's economy so battered, Naniwa can easily get way far ahead. And that is the one problem pylon that just ruined that early game for Terran.
It looks like Naniwa already sending out another probe to create another one of those pylons up here in the north. Is he going to take a 3rd base down there? It looks like he might, as he already has around 500 minerals, just hasn't built that Nexus yet. But once he gets these Colossus out on the field, once he gets that extended Thermal Lance upgrade, he's really going to be able to do a lot of damage simply because of how much indecision Terran had in the early game.
Naniwa is just checking every expansion. This is so brilliant. Anytime you're ahead, the only way you can really lose is if you get harassed by a bunch of drops, or if your opponent is hiding expansions somewhere on the map and getting ahead economically. Naniwa playing all defense, all scouting, absolutely perfect follow-up to that early attack. Now Terran, on the other hand, kind of has to do an attack. He's just finishing up the combat shield, and here comes the drop. Uh-oh, he may have caught Naniwa off guard a bit.
Uh-oh, he could actually deny that robotics baby upgrade, but here comes the forces being warped in. It looks like Naniwa is going to be able to force him out. Terran does not want to stay there and fight that fight, as he's going to be moving across the map with a small force here, Sean.
Extended Thermal Lance incoming as well. Naniwa does not have that blink upgrade yet. He is just going for a big push right now, and we see, looks like there's a little bit of a confrontation going to happen up in mid. And uh-oh, it looks like Terran is doing exactly what he needs. He's catching his army in small groups. This could be bad for Naniwa. No, he manages to get the Guardian Shield up just in time, and Terran is on the run.
Extended Thermal Lance is finished, but this is not looking good right now for Terran. Naniwa's just going to bypass that army and go straight for the natural. We already see him warping in a huge amount of units up here in the north with another forward pylon. Naniwa might just seal this series up, Sean.
And it looks like back home in the base, we have nothing but Stalkers for Naniwa. And at the front, the attack is commenced.
Oh, force field.
Force field on the low ground. SCVs and Stalkers get obliterated. And Naniwa, who opened up with the failed all-in cheese, might be able to close this series off with a 2-0 comeback. And it looks like the natural expansion under fire for Terran.
We have 56 supplied to the 116. Naniwa's going to take out that orbital PG. Naniwa's come back and taken out Terran, Sean.
Naniwa having amazing play in that last game. I mean, in game number 2, it was the defense that Naniwa showcased, his ability to get the Colossus, get the upgrades up. But in game number 3, his ability to nearly kill his opponent on just 2 gateways. That was great read from Naniwa.
That was really impressive stuff. I mean, only 3 Stalkers to start with. He did so much damage with that. He added on a couple more. Then he just kept on pushing in, killed so many SCVs. It was just a huge, huge supply difference from the get-go. So Naniwa just looks so strong there, Sean.
And of course, if you are a fan of Terran, fear not, because it is a double elimination tournament. So no one is out yet, but Naniwa coming right out the gate with a huge win, one of 2 Protoss players at this event.
Indeed. So let's go ahead and take a look at the brackets and really see where that's going to put Naniwa here in the upper bracket, as we already have some results here, Sean.
Sen has managed to defeat his opponent and will be playing against Naniwa next round. And that is going to be a stunning match in the upper bracket, because Naniwa, that was his weakest matchup, and that is Sen's strongest matchup.
Yeah, and I know a lot of fans out there at Sen. Sen, another one of those players that we really haven't seen at too many of these foreign events. So that looks like it's going to be a crazy tournament already, man.
Yeah, and of course, I think a lot of people are delighted to see that in Liquid Chef versus Loner, Liquid Chef managed to take the win against him.
Yeah.
I know Chef, one of the most popular players in the entire tournament.
You see right here in the bottom half of the winners bracket, we got Red losing to one of the unknown players here.
Yeah, Tude Ming is one of the players who qualified from Asia, who is one of the unknowns. I mean, a lot of those esports scene, especially the Chinese esports scene, tends to be quite insular. Even in Taiwan, there is the actually Taiwanese league, the Taiwanese Star League there. So those players are playing non-stop competitively under the radar, and as we see, putting up some big results.
Yeah, and MVP, of course, taking out Moonglade.
Yeah.
I mean, it's MVP, man.
Yeah, I mean, MVP's kind of good at not losing ever, so he's continuing that trend. And of course, in the lower bracket, that means we already know what some of those matchups are going to be.
Yeah, so if we could actually pull that up, we will see that in just a couple seconds. But
yeah,
again, man, Naniwa just looks so good in that match.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed with Naniwa. And here he is on the stage. Give a cheer for Naniwa.
I believe Sean, are you going to be doing an interview with him?
I will be doing an interview with the lovely Johan, a.k.a. Naniwa, right after this, talking to him a little bit about that first match and especially how he managed to pull that beautiful comeback after that early loss in game number 1. I mean, let's talk a little bit about game number 1, JP. That was kind of a surprising and shaky performance right out the gate for Naniwa.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure really if he was just trying to get the game over with or what his decision was. I'm sure you're going to ask him that in just a couple of seconds.
No doubt.
Going over there and shaking hands with Terran, always being the manner that he is.
And you know, that's one of my favorite parts about all the StarCraft players here. They're all friends. They all practice with one another. A lot of respect between these players. So, of course, give a cheer for your 2 players, Naniwa and 6 Jacks Terran. Seems to have dropped something. So let's go ahead and pop a look at the lower bracket to see what other matchups that we have coming up. I mean, excuse me, the upper bracket, just to see what those matches are that have already been played out. I'm really excited to see I Am MVP versus Tudming to see if we can get the chance to see what Tudming is really all about.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. And we also see down here at the bottom, we see Damaga taking out Killer. That was a ZVZ, and Killer, of course, the second place winner from the Latin American Invitational. Damaga, of course, just a very, very well-known Zerg player. The other match, of course, was Select up against Niffy. And Select, you guys like Select? Any fans of Select out here? He actually will be playing against Damaga. That is going to be an incredible matchup coming up pretty soon. And I'm not sure. I believe me and Sean will be casting that match. But any fans of Tasteosis out there in the crowd? They will be up a little bit later today. Sean, are you actually ready over there for the interview? I can't see you thanks to this player booth. Oh, okay. So it looks like we're still waiting for Sean to get mic'd up over there. He will be over on the side stage. One of the newest additions here at Blizzard 2011. Or BlizzCon 2011, where we'll be interviewing players, talking with some of the fans up there, answering Twitter questions and things like that. Has anyone had a chance to go check out the new StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm units yet? Now, there's some game changes over there that's really going to be interesting. For example, on the Nexus, you can actually mass recall for 75 energy. So things like that is really going to shake stuff up. Also, Banelings can burrow on Hive Tech. Not really sure how that's going to factor in. Ultralisk can charge for, I think, almost 10 meters now with about 10 damage, knocking units up in the air. It's really going to change the entire landscape of StarCraft 2, and I can't wait until that actually gets in the hands of some of these competitive players. So if you haven't had a chance, please go check that out. I believe the lines are probably going to be quite long, but it's definitely worth it. So, Sean, I believe you are ready with this interview, and here's Sean with the winner. Naniwa, give a cheer, guys.
Thank you so much, JP. I am here on the side stage at the RTS